And I was yes, you posted it. Yes.
My first way.
The first way.
And then the second way.
Hello, YouTube! I'm sorry. And welcome all who are watching. I'm Jesse Tovar, and this is My Place Cafe Poetry Night. I'm gonna slow down because I'm feeling like I'm going too fast. My Place Cafe is located within Henty Square, 2057 North Los Robles Avenue, Suite 10, Pasadena, California, at the corner of Woodbury and Los Robles. My Place Cafe is open every day from 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. I actually been hearing some reports about my place being closed, and there is a sign saying that they are closing for the notice. But I was told by Latanya herself that they will be open again tomorrow. So as far as I know from my end, my place is still up and running. So come on out tomorrow to get your delicious cup of coffee, pastries, avocado toast, or whatever you like here. If you're whether you're a regular or a newbie that is stumbling across this live stream. And also, I want to say that maybe I should have said afternoon poetry since it's 5 p.m. Then again, it's 8 p.m. right now in the Bronx, where this evening's featured poet grew up. I met Luivette Resto last year at a poetry event night. Mike Sonskin and I organized. Yes, it is. No, it's fine. Mike Sonskin and I organized for another coffee shop in the area. She read a poem that was essentially an FU to someone. I especially enjoyed that one. Months passed, and I bought Ascension, which I have right here. And I'm glad that you can actually see the cover because last week I did show this at Evan Kendall's event, and I rewatched the live stream of that, and even I realized that no one could really see it because I was set up like at another part of this cafe. So when this arrived in the mail, I find that it has been autographed by Resto herself. Isn't that cool? Anyways, the superlative of sex reminds me of an IRL encounter someone disclosed to me years back. Your mom's Jesus made me think about another people's idea of Jesus in relation to churches. The Bendeja syndrome, which I've been talking about earlier with the people that are here tonight beforehand, is so hilarious and deprecating. And I also want to add that when my friend actually read it at the party that I was at, some of the people that were hearing it were like offended by it. But I mean, I don't know why they were offended. So I mean, there's a lot to say about that. Anyways, I am thrilled she agreed to read to us here at My Place Cafe. With that said, LaTanya Smith and I welcome Luivette Resto.
Gracias, Jesse. Gracias, My Place Cafe. Anybody who's out there, that's awesome. There's some people here. What? I'm trying to be respectful. I don't know. You want to hear from back there. Got it. All right, right on. So I'm going to read a few poems from the new manuscript that's titled at the moment, Living on Islands Not Found on Maps. And this is the title poem. I live on an island not found on maps, growing up in the shadows of one of the most popular surnames, Garcia. I speak Spanish to my abuela on Sundays, but rely on Google to help my children with their homework because the accent rules never stuck. Stress or unstress, penultimate syllable. Took the paradoxical college course, Spanish for Bilinguals, where every Tuesday, Professor Cruz de Jesus would shake his head with indignation at my use of the familiar tú versus usted. No me conoce, he said. He was right. He didn't know me and I didn't know him, or the proper word for bus or orange juice. What I did know is summers in Puerto Rico, eating quenepas, as relatives said, ¿No entiendes lo que dijo tu primo? And my abuela defending my tongue. This tongue colonized not once, but twice, leaving me isolated at family reunions, feeling inadequate for my inability to conjugate on command, sounding out storefront signs while riding the number 42 bus on the way home from kindergarten, where I concentrated to understand Mrs. Farrell's lessons about the seasons. But I finally found a home between Bronx bodega aisles, code switching with my homegirls about how many times Juana bipió that boy we saw standing in front of a building. This became the island where I belonged, unfettered and absent of red pen corrections. Juana didn't care if I used the usted or the tú, or if my yo was about me or an emphatic reaction to her crazy story. This island didn't care if I rolled my R's or ever got the purpose of vosotros. An island where our bodies translated feelings, pursed lips, a raised brow, an aggressive eye or neck roll. We were bilingual neologists, inventing new lands we could carry in our Timbs and bubble coats. Here, language like us wasn't disappointing or broken. So a few people here clapping. This one's called "My Love Is a Continent." My love is a continent, an unconquerable land absent of manifest destiny. No man's footprints, fingerprints, or flags planted on this body. My love is a continent. Pray and leave me ofrendas de chicharrón y empanadas with a Malta India and a white candle. My love is a continent compartmentalized by states named after my whims, dalliances, and lovers, uncolonized by anyone's demands, romances, or persuasions. My love is a continent historians have yet etched into books, unnamed by the best etymologists. My love is a continent, a sanctuary for women, un puerto para las malcriadas, chingonas, cabronas, jefas, y sinvergüenzas. My love is a continent for all of the outliers and anomalies of this world, the forgotten ones who live in the gray. My love is a continent without longitude and latitude lines or vector points. You will not find my love on a map or Thomas guide. My love is a continent legendary like the pyramids, enigmatic like the Bermuda Triangle, unexplainable like your need to visit it over and over again. My love is a continent I never want to give away. I want to hold it in my arms and shield it from the brutality of the sun. May my love live uninhabited, uninhibited, for it can't ever be damaged, bruised, or burned to the ground. Jesse, you made a comment about I think my fuck you poem or something like that.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this is it or if this is just another fuck you poem that I have. So I think I'm gonna read this one, and maybe this is the one you're talking about. I'm not really sure. It's about, is it the CVS clerk?
Wait, was that what it was about? Because you said that at the Espresso Mi Cultura event that I didn't want to mention her name.
Oh yeah, that was another one.
Yeah.
Sorry, but this is actually naming somebody.
Oh,
this is
okay.
actually, it's in the title, so maybe it's another one.
Yeah.
This was a letter to Gus, the judgmental CVS clerk.
Oh. Okay.
So you're like, no, I haven't heard this one. You're like, all right. Dear Gus, I didn't need the extra look of judgment or the 5-page receipt when I bought my Plan B pill. Yes, I had sex. No, I didn't use a condom. Yes, I enjoyed it. And yes, Gus, I will do it again, and again. I don't think male customers get the same discernment when they buy the industrial pack of Trojans, extra thin and lubricated for her pleasure. I am tired of my body being examined and decided upon by men who couldn't find a clitoris, even if Alexa, Siri, and Google joined forces in some GPS version of Voltron. So save your visual admonishments, for I am not your Latin Mary Magdalene, although I am sure I did shout God's name more than once. You will not side-eye me for fulfilling my sexual desires, expressing my sensuality, savoring the taste of a man's touch, satisfying my fantasies one orgasm at a time, loving my body under my own terms, sincerely an unapologetic woman. That's what happens when you wear a name tag, because that's what happens. So, but yes, I don't know if that was the one you referred to.
No.
He was like, nope, that's not the one. But I have 3 beautiful children, and I have a couple of poems about them in the manuscript. All of my books are dedicated to the kids because I want them to know that being an artist is a real thing and not something that, you know, is a hobby, in case they want to pursue it. I have a couple of poems about them. This one's really short, and it's called Breakfast Conversation with My Oldest Son. Another man shot today, Mom. I don't think I ever want a license. Driving isn't the problem, mijo. Driving isn't the problem. So that was it. And then there's one that's a little longer. It's called Someone's Mom, because sometimes I wake up in the morning and I realize I am someone's mother. And sometimes that's really scary. So I wrote this poem a long time ago. So it's a little outdated because they're much, much older, but a lot of it still applies. And I dedicate it to my revolutionaries, my children. It's called Someone's Mom. And there's a reference to Don LaFontaine. If you do not know who Don LaFontaine is, I highly suggest you look him up. He's the movie voiceover guy. In my mind, Don LaFontaine narrates the beginning of every morning. In a world full of dentist appointments, field trips, asses to wipe, lunches to pack, homework to sign, one woman's name echoes through Rocky Mountain laundry piles of Angry Bird underoos and Hello Kitty jeans. One woman answers to the call of mommy. A technicolor of communist colored dresses, Yankee caps, Converse sneakers, and one faded I Hate People t-shirt, proudly worn at PTA functions and children's museums, occupy the closet where nothing pastel or animal print is welcomed. Morning dance breaks to the Beastie Boys are mandatory, like syrup on blueberry pancakes, with a bacon smile and whipped cream eyes. A mid-afternoon glass from my favorite bottle of wine, and a sippy cup with the words, "Mommy juice, don't touch." Sound like Dora the Explorer episode asking for things in two different languages. Say darn when I stub my toe, but scream motherfucker when another parent cuts me off at the drop-off lane. I pretend to change my name to Queen Sheba of the desert, plugging my ears from three voices and monsoon of questions. How I wish to respond. No, I don't know why ants are that small, and who cares, they're ants. Forget them. Watch me take advantage of their size with this chancla. Darwinism at its best. On Columbus days, I teach them about hubris, genocide, and respect for the property of others. On New Year's Eve, write each of them a letter of the obstacles they conquered, new games they mastered, colors they discovered, the lines they stayed in, the boxes they thought out of, new lessons they learned in and out of the classroom, like opening the door for anyone or the power of listening, especially when a grandparent speaks. With each passing year in the surreal lands of Marqués and Paz, I challenge patterns etched in the knots of our family tree, carve new ones in the extended branches with smiles instead of tears, hugs instead of raised hands and voices, break traditions of alcoholism and apathy with Lego hammers. Take them to bookstores, show them mommy's name on a spine so they know guidance counselors can be wrong and how anything is possible. Jesse mentioned I'm from the Bronx, and I'm very proud of it. Last year, there was an incident, or one of the many incidences of women appropriating someone else's culture. And
That's the one. Sorry.
it's okay. No, that's not the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I would have mentioned her name, and I'm never going to mention her name because I don't think she deserves any more attention. And we keep seeing this, right? Like the appropriation of someone's culture and language, and then to get ahead in academia, and then obviously them getting opportunities that women of color deserve.
Yeah.
And so I get angry very often, as some of you know, and so I take it onto the page. And this is my response to it. It's called All Day, Every Day. The Bronx isn't a resume builder. You don't get a Scouts badge because you lived there today or 20 years ago. You don't come from the Bronx comes from you. And you don't survive the Bronx. It isn't trying to kill you so you can justify leaving it behind. Abandoning it like one of the buildings from the 80s with painted flower pots on the windows, making them more aesthetically pleasing for the Jersey commuters as they crawl on the Cross Bronx Expressway, which is always under construction. The Bronx is more than switching your T's for D's when you say water. The accent isn't part of your audition for the next Spike Lee movie. The Bronx is more than dancing to hip hop y bomba. It's Lisa Lisa and the Cult Jam and TKA in the community center basement at your cousin's Sweet 16. It's having enough spray cans and D batteries. The Bronx is the way your head tilts when someone says something suspicious. It isn't the amount of yos and dead asses used in a story because yo, I'm dead ass when I tell you that shit happened like I said it did. But in the end, we good. The Bronx is the original Yankee Stadium and hating on the Mets in perpetuity. It is witnessing love triangles at the park unravel like a telenovela. The Bronx is the ineptitude of the 2 train and cursing Robert Moses when you surface. The Bronx is knowing bodega aisles like treasure maps. It is getting ready for a night out, searching for your favorite hoop earrings and Boricua red lipstick. It means rolling without hesitation when your comadre hits you up. The Bronx is sitting at a faculty meeting and asking the questions no one is willing to ask because in the BX, there is no sugarcoating. Some people are agreeing, apparently. So yeah, that was my response to she who shall not be named, because she doesn't deserve it. She doesn't deserve it. She got enough of that. So going back to Puerto Rico, I always go back to her in some way, shape, or form. And these are some poems about my island. This is called Yemayas Pantum, and Pantum is a very specific formulaic poem with repetition. When I visited the ocean, she told me I was strong as her currents, unpredictable like the tides. She told me brujas on blood moon nights, unpredictable like the tides, gathered by her recursive feet, with a handful of silver coins, because brujas know how to worship her coastline like an altar, and stand by her recursive feet, as the Peruvian spring tide allows a kiss. To worship her coastline like an altar, full of intention, while gray waves move like a plena, as the tide allows a kiss, entropically moving from me to you. With full intention, waves glide across our feet as her answers whisper from me to you, strong as her currents. I have a couple of mom poems. So I wanted to share them. Actually, I have a new one, like really like freshly new. Don't know how it's gonna go, but we shall see. It's titled "My Mother Tells Me She Fought a Squirrel." It's all good, right? All right. Every Sunday, I call my mother, check the clock for the time difference. If I call 4 Budweiser cans too late, I know the conversation will be short. Hola mamá, ¿cómo estás? Sí, estoy bien. Y los niños también. Ay, pues, bendición. The bendición is obligatory like the phone calls, asking for her blessing as I start another week or the week starts me. This Sunday, my mother regales me about the squirrel she fought, the idea who decided it would be cooler inside of her house. Perched on the AC unit, the squirrel ripped the mesh of her window as my mother pushed her out with a wooden spatula. According to Mama, the idea was a fighter, used her paws and teeth, eventually abandoning its mission, but returned the following day at the same time. Mira qué inteligente es. Ella sabe, mija. My mother praises La Aldea's tenacity, its persistence for refuge in this Bronx July heat. I wanted to interrupt my mother and praise her for her tenacity, for her ability to never give up on herself or love, for paying off her house, for retiring on time, for her own fighting skills, like the time she took on a woman, her mother, and her mother's mother at the same time. To be fair, my mother told the judge, I did warn her. Our weekly phone call ended with Mama's promise to be ready for her furry adversary tomorrow, and a bendición. This is another one. The title is pretty straightforward. I am 43, still stealing cigarettes from my mother. 2 decades since my first drag, I find myself stealing cigarettes from my mother's stash, held in the top left-hand kitchen drawer. She doesn't count them like I did in college when Lucy's could be bought without getting one killed. They were expensive even back then, when I was known for throwing lit cigarettes at people, particularly men with their inane conversation starters. Growing up with the chain smoker, I vowed my disgust. The Newport menthol smell attached to my Catholic school uniform, overpowering the aquanet in my bun. My abuelo looked down on smokers, so naturally all of the women in my family smoked out back when he was asleep or working late nights at the bodega, the same place where they would buy cigarettes. They didn't want any part of Pedro's wrath. Las mujeres decentes no fuman. Smoking was for whores, women with low morals, women who fought on command. Inhaling the nicotine outside of my mother's house, I think about the first time I gave a man a blowjob, allowed a man to put his hands on me, watched my mother show me how to fight. Perhaps Pedro was right as I squashed the cigarette butt back and forth with the heel of my shoe. So that was new. Just to put it out there. I learned how to speak English by television. I don't know how many people who are bilingual learn that way. So this was my way of honoring this. It's called How Days of Our Lives Taught Me English. I do this just to watch the reaction because it's actually quite fun. In 1982, Bo was in love with Hope, but she was promised to Larry Welch, a skeevy, lecherous politician. In 1982, my abuela and I landed at JFK, greeted by Tia, Abuelo, and his maroon station wagon Impala with its 8-track tapes and backwards third row. In 1983, Bonnie Tyler's I Need a Hero played in the background as Bo drove his motorcycle, kidnapping Fancy Face at her wedding. She hopped on his motorcycle, saving her from making the worst mistake of her life. In 1983, my abuela, the retired executive assistant, practiced her English and politicked on my behalf to Sister Catherine. She's smart, knows how to add and subtract, knows her alphabet. But does she speak English? No. In 1983, Maria Virginia Garcia Lozada saved Sister Catherine from making the worst mistake of her holy career. I started kindergarten at St. Anthony's, entered Mrs. Farrell's pre-Pinterest days classroom, and sat in the back next to Rebecca and Vanessa, who unbeknownst to them became my interpreters and best friends. In the summer of 1984, Steve Johnson, AKA Patch, met Kayla, and I no longer cared about Bo and Hope. Every day at 1 p.m., I watched the sand fall through the hourglass. For 1 hour, Salem was my escape from this new home where fire trucks and police sirens interrupted my sleep versus Boquis. Salem, where all things could happen at a pub or a hospital, comas, amnesia, women forgetting they gave birth. Stefano DeMiro never ran out of money. Roman and Marlena never died. And the Bradys were the tragic family Shakespeare could only dream about. Salem is where I learned English. In the fall of 1984, I greeted a shocked Sister Catherine with a good morning, strutted into Mrs. Dio's first grade class, and sat in the front row. Some laughter. Why is there laughter? Huh? It wasn't one like that. That was your thing. I was gonna see. Mine was Days of Our Lives. No one was watching me watch one. Days of Our Lives. That was the thing. That was the thing. So I'll read one more from the new manuscript and then get to some stuff from the old one. I am a grammar nerd. I teach English and I actually like grammar. But also I like sexy things. So I mesh things together. This is called intimate grammar rule. Laugh, plus a preposition. So all of these are prepositions. And yes, I looked them up. Laugh with me when it starts to rain on our beach day. Laugh without hesitation and order a second bottle of wine. Laugh despite wanting to shut down. Laugh versus arguing about last night's miscommunication. Laugh about the stupid thing that one guy said that one time we went out to that place. Laugh to make me feel less alone. Laugh after I defy gravity and trip going up the stairs. Laugh alongside me walking on the outside of the street because that's what your grandfather taught you. Laugh through the hardest moments. Laugh in spite of wanting to yell. Laugh for our survival. Laugh at me when I snort. Laugh at the moments I interpretive dance Barry White's greatest hits while making breakfast. Laugh as well as hold me. Laugh between the awkward pauses. Laugh, then cry. Laugh underneath the covers as we share bad dating stories. Laugh until we cannot laugh anymore. Laugh during sex because that shit is funny sometimes. Laugh except for when you want to kiss me. Laugh like when we first met. Laugh above anything else. So, yeah. I'm a grammar nerd. So yes. You mentioned your mom is Jesus. So I'm gonna read that one. So since you mentioned it, and you said you liked it. So I will read it. And the pendeja syndrome too.
Oh, yeah, I enjoyed that one.
I know, I was like, I heard you say people were offended. I was like, only the pendejas are offended.
Well, there's a word that's don't worry about what happened there at that party. Like, yeah.
I mean, it's the pendeja syndrome is it's something that like I own. Like we're pendejas. Like, you know, we fall for a lot of shit. Men are also pendejos too, so it goes both ways.
No, and that's what we were talking about beforehand. Like at that party, there was a couple of us who show up, but the guy was like, "Well, we were here for 13 minutes, and we got shit to do, man. We can't wait for your ass to catch me late."
Oh.
Yeah.
I fall. Okay. So pendeja syndrome will be next. Your mom's Jesus. Your mom's Jesus was his retort when he felt the impending loss of an argument about arbitrary line breaks, emphatic punctuation marks like the dash, fantasy football team draft picks. Where is the Messiah when his father cannot silence a symphony of aerial bombs over Korea and Vietnam? Where was Jesus when his mother had breast cancer, plaguing his middle school years with nightmares of zombies feasting on his mother's carcass? He developed road rage, counting all of the Jesus fish plastered on the back of cars, trucks, and once a tractor. Weekly, he'd yank the metal ichthus off cars at mall parking structures, bewildering Sunday school teachers and catechism children. Agnostic became his permanent status update, highlighted on his dating profile, tattooed over his heart in his mother's handwriting. All of it is a true story. That's the thing. That was actually somebody that I know. So that was all just true. All right, the pendeja syndrome. Well, the reason the pendeja syndrome came to be is because like my friends and I would sit together and we would talk about men and we'd be like, God, we're such pendejas. And then we talk about the pendeja syndrome. And then one day I was like, wow, it almost sounds like those like infomercials at 2:00 in the morning about medication. Like if you have this, you know, these are your symptoms. And that's kind of where it came from. So, because yeah. The pendeja syndrome. The pendeja syndrome has claimed many victims. Symptoms may include waiting for his phone call, but tell yourself that you don't care either way. Replaying his message 52 times, analyzing the tone each time. Bumping into him and his new fiance at the open bar wearing "wish you could have this back, don't you" dress. Meeting him at Washington Square Park for a 3 a.m. rendezvous as you look at your watch and the winos every 5 minutes. Really believing him and his ex are just friends, giving your body before your heart. Envisioning a future when you say "I love you" and he responds, "I'm flattered." Excusing him when he calls you stupid in public, holding onto the belief that you can change him. Shuddering at the idea of entering an empty house, letting him put it in for 2 minutes. If not, they really do turn blue. Writing your name and his last name just to see what they would look like together. Swallow when you really want to spit. Presume it does happen to all men and give him one more try. Give him a key to your apartment only to smell a different perfume on your pillow. Pretending he is the one because you are tired of being the CEO and client of the Spinsters for Life Club. Repeat to yourself he only does it because he loves you while you wear long sleeves in July. See him laugh with another as he swears it means nothing and you mean everything.
Sorry.
But you know what? All of those stanzas or couplets came from real life experiences. Not my own, but these were all stories from women like that I know. Like I do know somebody who waited till 3 o'clock in the morning in Washington Square Park for her ex to show up. And like she just waited and waited as like, you know, vagrants were asking her for money. And I was like, what are you doing? She's like, well, he said he was gonna come by. I was like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, girl. Like, what are you doing? But she didn't. She's like, I'm a pendeja. Like, here I am, you know. So everything that actually was listed was real stories. I just didn't mention people's names. Because everybody was like, don't mention my name. I don't want people knowing I'm a pendeja.
Wow.
And I was like, girl, we've all been there. Right, like everybody's been there. Like, I mean, literally everyone's been there, right? Like, you do believe it, you know. We're all like, okay, sure, we'll do this again, even though you want to say no. And then I'm just gonna close with one about being bilingual, and it's one of my longer poems. And because again, again growing up in the Bronx and coming from Puerto Rico, like my grandmother, who was the huge proponent of still speaking Spanish. So, you know, maybe you, Danny, you know this, que you would hear the phrase, no pierdes tu idioma, right? No pierdes tu idioma. And I found it really fascinating that my grandmother would equate language almost as if it was an item, right? Like your glasses or your keys or your wallet. No pierdes esto, right? And I just kind of started to go along with that idea of like, well, what if we lost our language, like we lost our keys and our glasses, and there was this like this kind of like surreal space of lost and found, and you can just go there and reclaim it, right? Anyway, that's where my kooky brain went to one day. Seriously, like I thought about this in the car, and so this is where the poem came from. It's called A Journey for the Mute. Salvador woke up one morning in silence. His lips opened, but only air resonated. His hand reached into his mouth and searched for his voice box. His voice box was alone, feeling the loss of its companion, language. Language left Salvador. Questions drove him drunk with no answers for sobriety. Salvador tried living without language. He communicated with noises, wrote sonnets for the lonely, had imaginary conversations with imaginary people. In his mute travels, he searched and searched, lifted boulders, dug through graveyards, hoping to find it, sitting, waiting to be found. To Salvador, this hide-and-go-seek game had no end. His life remained still and gray as he continued on his journey. Passers-by like Don Loco Santana would ask when it was the last time Salvador remembered seeing his language. Salvador's mind rewound to the last night his mother read him a bedtime story. She would translate Little Red Riding Hood. In her version, the hood was rojo, the wolf a lobo, and the grandmother sounded a lot like Abuelita Consuela, who died when Salvador was 12. Just before his body lost the struggle against sleep, he would feel his mother's mouth kissing his cheek as she asked God to bless her mijo. Salvador shrugged off Santana's question along with his memory. He cursed his God for truths and Santana for living up to his name, Loco. So he walked, reclaiming his mission. He drew pitiful signs asking anyone if they had seen his language. His reward, a lifetime of thank you letters. He received a few replies, one of them from Reverend Clemente. He told Salvador the last time he saw his language was at Luz Divina's funeral. Salvador delivered his mother's eulogy, bestowing all of her fragrances, graces, and blessings on the congregation. She was all he had in this fatherless world. From her, he learned to cook his own rice and beans, iron the crispest shirts, and listen selectively. She was wise. She knew why chickens didn't fly and no other mother on the block could match the softness of her hair. She was all for him. Salvador cried in English that day as Spanish tears drizzled his mother's casket. He thanked everyone for coming, including the janitor who collected the loose petals from the floor. Reverend Clemente reminded Salvador of the weekly Spanish Mass. Always on Sundays at 5 p.m., guidos, tambourines, and guitars were welcome for those I need to be saved again moments. Salvador buried Reverend Clemente's letter in the freshest soil on the sunniest side of the earth, with hopes that it would grow his mother back to life. Another letter came from his best friend Cristobal. He last saw Salvador's language running out of harm's way the day they were both stopped by the police at the mall, who did not believe they could afford the brand name clothing they were wearing. The policeman said, even though one of their relatives made the clothing for 5 cents an hour, that gave them no right to wear such things. When he asked for names, Salvador became Sal and Torres became Towers. Cristobal could not believe the perfection of Salvador's Anglo accent. They were left off with a stern warning as Cristobal whistled Officer Krupke all the way home. Cristobal closed his letter asking after Salvador's whereabouts. They have not seen each other since that day. Salvador felt hopeless as he looked at the piles of letters. One name stood out from the pile. It came from Miss Paloma, his kindergarten teacher. She was gorgeous and the first woman he ever loved aside from his mother. Miss Paloma was married, a hyphen after her name. She recalled the first time she saw Salvador's language. He entered her classroom with a note stapled to his brown polyester vest listing all of his allergies to paste, crayons, toxic watercolors, finger paint, and some girls. She introduced herself with silence as his response. She tried it again, but this time with her island-grown Spanish. Salvador smiled with 4 missing teeth and a weak hola. That first day, Miss Paloma was the student. She learned that he was 5, just arrived in the US with his mother from a tiny island off Puerto Rico called Vieques. There were too many explosions to hear the cookies at night. Salvador had forgotten about that first day, the vest, the list written in his mother's perfect handwriting. His eyes filled with images, playing street football with Cristobal, Sunday masses with tambourines, and everyone asking weekly penance for weekly sins. And his abuelita Consuela's skin so wrinkled he swore he could peel it off. He fell to his knees asking for forgiveness and salvation. Tears soaked his face and the land beneath him. He prayed for the reincarnation of his language. He begged for its return, promised never to allow silence in exchange for acceptance or denial. He swore to his God and his mother's God. Do I do anything else? I don't know. I'm not certain. I'm like, this is my first time doing this like this.
If you like, if you want me to come more, that's fine.
Okay, I wasn't sure. So I was like, okay. Do people have requests? Oh. I haven't read that one in a long time. I was going to read, I'll read the other one that he likes, I know, the misogynist colleague one. It's another angry poem, Jesse, pa que sepas. And I know that he's a particular fan of it. But yeah, oh, there it is. It's called A Poem from My Misogynist Colleague. Your keen observation skills were in full force in the teacher's lounge when you stated the reason why I may get a new course approved. Oh, it's because you're a woman that they listen to you instead of me. Yes, Captain Obvious, my extra X chromosome doubles as a secret weapon of persuasion, luring the mobile guy to give me an extra squeeze of gas, the pimply teenager at McDonald's to throw a few extra fries in my bag, maintain the attention of a lackluster classroom the day we discuss the 11 uses of a comma. It must be the way I flip my hair when I say my name, the new shade of eyeshadow the Mac counter guy told me would bring out the dark brown in my eyes and make me look just absolutely fabulous in a pantsuit or a mini skirt. No, it must be how I laugh at men's jokes, even though they make no sense and fall flatter than my chest in elementary school. Speaking of breasts, it could be the power of the twins in this push-up bra making me forget the permanent gravitational effects of nursing. Or it could be my flawless body, courtesy to the invention of Spanx. Maybe it's my inherited long legs making it always impossible to find pants without having me look like a flood survivor. Or is it the way I eat a banana, burrito, hot dog? It cannot be my intelligence, hard work, writing skills, ability to talk to people without making them feel less than. Listen to the subtleties of a student's story hidden between run-on sentences. It cannot be because you are a self-righteous, arrogant asshole who has the ability to clear a room in 0.6 seconds the minute you open your mouth with an unsolicited opinion. Have students give up trying because they don't regurgitate your ideas in a debate. No, it must be my superpowers. I know you like that one. You're a fan. I'm gonna read the, I think someone that I know is online. It's called Letters to a Young Latina Poet. I don't know if you read Rilke's Letters to a Young Poet ever. Have you read Letters to a Young Poet yet? Huh? Yeah, and I know you and I've spoken about this too. So this is my version of it. I remember reading it and loving it, and just wish that I had known somebody to write me little notes when I was starting out in all this. So this is my version of it. It's called Letters to a Young Latina Poet. Number 1, Dear YLP, even Rilke forgot a few things, mujer. Don't be afraid to write about your languages, the one you were born with, the one you had to learn to survive, eat, explain your last name, and the language you created. Accents and eñas are the adobo of a poem. Remember what Pietri said, the masses are asses and you are not writing for them. Go ahead, write about your mom and grandma washing underwear in the bathroom sink, hanging panties on the shower proudly like spoils of war, scrubbing manchas out with the flesh of their knuckles, remembering all of their guerras and the ones you two will face. Never be shy about underwear, never. Number 2, Querida YLP, what is this I hear about being ashamed of your Saturday night rituals, watching Sábado Gigante with abuela and abuelo as they wait to see a chacal in the lucky winner of this week's car? Not everyone will understand, but that's okay. They will become fans of Don Francisco and his perfectly coiffed pompadour. Please finish writing your Walter Mercado poem and the intense way your Tia Lourdes listens when he gets to Sagittarius. He will be right 1 year. Abrazos fuerte. Letter 3. Hola YLP, ¿cómo te va? I hope you're recovering from the flu, which reminds me I need to visit the Botanica and stock up on my winter supply of Vicks Vapor Rub and Agua de Florida. Thanks to my great-grandmother's wisdom, I know that a combination of those two on my chest and feet with an egg under my bed takes away my cold just like that. Your last letter asks what to do with family poems, not the ones about Christmas and quinceañeras, but the ones about the cousin who didn't know his boundaries, the 18-year-old half-sister welcoming her second abortion, the graduation party gone awry due to Tío Papo's love affair with Johnny Caminando. Write them, querida. Let go of the shame and the fear. Document every slap to the face, every hija de agradecida, and no, please, no. Read them aloud to yourself at open mics or at the new independent bookstore. Con mucho cariño. Letter 4. Feliz Navidad, YLP. Christmas is almost here, which means New Year's will be sooner. Another year of resolutions, and I hope to keep. What about you? Do you have any resolutions, or are you like me and extend the deadline to the ones you made last year? I read your love poem. You chose a sonnet. I can see you've been reading Neruda and perhaps a little bit of Parker. Did he really break up over email? Is that what happens when people meet online? Everything happens over the internet. Connections, dating, sex, breakups, make-up chat sex, the infamous email /Facebook/Instagram/Twitter block. I'm sorry, comadre. You deserve better. But if there's any consolation, your use of similes when comparing his penis to the size of a baby carrot was perfection. Abrazos. Letter 5. Mi comadre YLP. I'm sorry for the lag between letters, but life has been difficult. My poor abuelita poems were rejected yet again. Who rejects Granny? Insensitive orphan editors, that's who. But forget them and their we're sorry to inform you form letters. I will take my abuelita poems elsewhere. How she taught me to hem my own skirt, sew buttons, knit blankets, and matching booties for expectant mothers and their infants, cook pasteles for the entire block, Leave some in the freezer for widows who forget to eat while mourning their señores. Oddly enough, they like my menage a trois poem. You know, the one with me and two other men who, instead of making me orgasm, one cleans my house, washes my dishes, changes the oil to my car, fixes the leaky bathroom faucet, while the other massages my feet, then paints my toes cotton candy pink, all without complaining. Next letter, I will address your issues with aesthetics and form. Sestinas are fun, but iambic pentameter is the devil. Besitos. Last letter. My YLP. Learn from my mistakes and don't email the editor who rejected you and call him an hijo de gran puta. Who knew he spent a year abroad in Santo Domingo? By the way, this is my last letter for a while. I was accepted to a residency program where I will eat, sleep, and speak revision, isolated from distractions like words with friends, dyeing my hair blonde one more time, or 2 a.m. rendezvous with ex-boyfriends wondering why they got married. I think I'll be somewhere in New England. These residencies are always in New England. Hasta la próxima. Are we on time?
Oh,
Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you back the computer.
Oh, yeah. Well, Luivette, thank you so much for reading. Real quick here, as I mentioned earlier, my copy of this book is autographed by herself, and I'll just read what is written here. It says, keep reading, keep writing, keep celebrating. This is something that both her and Mike Sonskin, I guess, say on a regular basis, as they're both educators, and which is something I would like to say to other people that read my work someday, or whatever or whatnot. I'm also trying to get in that educator game myself. All right, I'm gonna get back to my closer here real quick. Let's see here. Again, I'm glad to actually make this night all about your reality. And I want to thank everyone that's watching this live stream, and to everyone that's here. I want to thank Latanya and the rest of the My Place family. To get in touch with Luivette, you can follow her on Instagram at lulubell.96. You can also visit her website at luivette.com. Actually, Luivette will appear at Brianna Munoz's Everything is Returned to the Soil release party at Re Arte in Boyle Heights tomorrow. Re Arte is a centro literario where I am currently skimming a novel I bought over there. I actually show off the novel I got over there next Saturday. Speaking of next Saturday, at 11 a.m., come and check out A Midsummer Days Jazz featuring Alan Wasserman and the Jazz Ensemble. Also, next Saturday at 4 p.m., Sid Leilani hits the My Place Cafe outdoor patio stage. We hope you come on back. That's when I'll show off the book I'm referring to. Have a great Sunday, everyone, and remember, make my place your place.